What's up?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing? Beautiful.
Boards, aren't they gorgeous?
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
This is fucking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways. It's okay. I won't actually use this up, so it's fine. It's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Nice FLITELab shirt.
Thanks. They sent me some merch, so better than doing laundry.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You'll be running on new t-shirts this whole week.
Yeah.
At least we got some wins Sunday, Monday.
Looks good.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it'll
love
be something. Fuck,
dude. I love getting win before the event, so we can session out, and then you get down to business. You know, I'd love to test out the gear and stuff, but it's so hectic when it's like really windy. People are running around everywhere. It's nice to like get some session time and then go in and like meet and see the product and talk to the people, make deals. You know, so us little shops can still make some money and stay alive.
Wait, are we doing the podcast right now?
Yep. It's been recording since the moment you jumped on, my friend.
Hate it when you do that. Anyways.
You should know me by now.
I should know you. Yeah, you know, it has been the curse of AWSI the last 2 years, and I feel like we got to be careful not talking about it too much because we might make it worse. But so far, it looks like at least we'll have some win when you show up, which will be great. I'm frothing for some sessions with you guys because it's been a minute. Arlen's first real trip to the Gorge, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, that'll be sick.
Yeah.
I had some things that I organized some stuff so that we get down to business. There's some things that we need to talk about. It's kind of cool.
There's a lot of things to talk about.
Well, we haven't talked much because you've been super busy. I've been busy. You've been in Maui, so we haven't had much like chit chat time. You try to talk to me and you're like, blah, 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 blah. And there's all this stuff you tell me and I'm like, okay, I gotta go. You're like, okay, me too, bye.
Okay, let's be fair. I call and I'm like, hey, I got all this stuff to talk to you about. And there's like screaming children in the background and you're like trying to sell a FLITELab to a dude in Portugal and like whatever all at the same time. So it makes the conversation tough, you know?
It's true.
Anyways.
Let's talk about your trip. Catch up on Maui, how it was this year.
Oh, Maui's always amazing, right? And then Parawing Maui is just like, it's like being on another universe. Like it was just so cool to go back and attack those runs that we've done on the SUP and go out there with the Parawing. Because, well, I mean, there's also the progression in equipment. You know, we're riding new gear. We'll talk to you a little bit about. I've got to try those F4 foils, which can't wait to froth on those. Just even the KT stuff, whatever. We're riding all this new gear. We're all progressing in our skill sets, right? We're getting better boards and better foils, and then we're learning to be more surfy in a downwind situation. I think that's the thing that Hood has kind of instilled in me is like, how do I keep flowing with energy in a surf style opposed to just pumping and connecting, right? Like there's a big difference in those two styles of kind of like the Kane style, I think is a way for us to think about it. The folks who are watching the races, if you watched him coming in, you know, you could see his just depth of knowledge in open ocean energy reading and his ability to really kind of flawlessly find the gates between the pockets of energy and connect those gates. And it just has this like, you know, like a bird flowing over the ocean kind of vibe to it. And I think that's the magic, right? When we're deeply tuned in with the swell, we're not having to like punch and power our way through it by pumping up and over all the time. We're just finding all of the perfect pieces of energy. I think Hood River and the Gorge allows you to do that in a really simple way because, you know, you can see it more clearly. Everything moves slower, and to be able to kind of like between the Parawing and better equipment or whatever, kind of apply that to Maliko was like, whew, just mind blowing. So yeah, it was a great week of just cranking runs. And, you know, it was never like, didn't have any of everybody always says it, right? We go on these trips and they're like, oh, that wasn't a real Maliko. You haven't gotten it yet. That was like a 7. And I'm like, that was a 10, you know? But you know, it was great. It was like high 20s to like mid 30s. Had a couple runs where it was like dusting 37. I was riding a 530. That's another thing. Whoever imagined downwinding a 530, like I couldn't have imagined that. You know, I was like lucky if I could paddle up the Takuma, what was that? The 1440 or whatever we started on.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, what a journey in like 2 years. What a crazy journey with this downwind thing. So yeah, Maui's epic.
How did it change? Like the Parawing, did it just change the ability to get up on a smaller foil, a little bit, you know, lighter gear? Was it faster to get out in the run? Did you throw up your Parawing to get through to the harbor, or was it?
Yeah,
it's similar.
All the
it's
things.
Just
Yeah, I think. Well, it's why it's a twofold, right? It's a progression in skills. It's been a year. we've had a year of training since last time I was in Maui, since you were there with me. And I think there's a progression there in our skills that's being applied, that's making the runs more dynamic. But yeah, I mean, I think being on a smaller board, for me, I can dig myself out of, if I get myself in trouble, I'm better getting out of it with a smaller board. Obviously, the Parawing allows you to save energy on pop-up. So you're pouring all of your energy into, pumping and surfing and whatever. And like you said, the smaller wing, being able to go out there and with no concerns, get up a wing probably smaller than I could paddle. I'd say, not to say people aren't paddling up the 530 I rode. I mean, I rode the 685 a lot too. We'll talk about the F4s, but I mean, those are just, sizes we all think about when we're downwinding. A lot of like Guido paddles up the 530. So you can paddle it up, but I don't know if I could paddle it up, in those conditions. Like I would have needed more. Right.
It's like the elite, right?
That's the elite, right? But I don't even think I couldn't have even ridden the foil because I wouldn't have paddled it up. And because I could Parawing into it, then I had the speed on the foil. And then it was my job to just like read the bumps and keep the energy up, which was actually really not too bad. So I think those are the things that it changes. The other is, I mean, I did not go into the harbor on a single run. I did a lot of Malikos, but every time I would basically go straight towards the harbor, and then I would shoot a beam into Ka'a and meet there, which was cutting. It was cutting about 10 minutes off the travel time on laps, which was huge. And also Holly was there with me, so my partner was there. She was just chilling, reading books on the beach, chilling in the shade. Instead of hanging out in the house, just sitting in a dirt parking lot, getting blasted by, with boats coming in and out. So that was kind of, I mean, I would have taken runs to the harbor for sure. And I think that's, the Parawing would have been useful going in there, but more so just the Parawing allows us this ability to find the wind line, pop up, shoot to the outside and get a nice outside line where the energy feels good, and then just take off on your run. And the biggest thing is the smaller board. I think it's the combination of being on smaller equipment overall, smaller board, smaller foil. And it's not even about just like, okay, I can do the run on a smaller foil. It's what it opens up from a surf performance standpoint out there. I mean, it just turned into, like those days we've had here when it's nuking at Rufus or at the Hatch, and it's kind of that like weird next level, like towing, snowboarding, downwinding thing. And it turned Maliko into that for me. And that was really radical to experience, and just makes me want to go get it some more.
Did you do any Kiheis?
Nope, no Kihei. Kihei never turned on. And honestly, dude, after being in the Gorge all summer, I was like, dude, I'm good. I don't need any more wind bumps. I mean, I would have loved a Kihei.
It's different,
run. It would have been amazing. Sure. Kihei's epic, right? I would have taken it, but it just never turned on, and I was just super grateful.
Kihei's even better with a Parawing.
Well, it would be insane because you get the first mile
get right off the shore. Right?
Exactly. Well, it was like, Sinbad back in the day with her little Mary Poppins parachute, what was it? So it was like a hobby. I'm sure we'll get her on the podcast someday, but it was like a hobby rocket, parachute so it wouldn't crash, or I don't know. I don't do hobby rockets or anything but I guess that's what it was for. So yeah, she had it tucked in her little pocket on her Vycobi vest. She'd pull it out and she'd just have this black little chute just flopping around in front of her. But dude, it was enough to get her up on foil. And so she'd be zooming by us, meanwhile offshore waiting for a bump that's like, that's the size of up to our calf, so we could finally like pop up on something and start pumping our brains out for another mile and a half until the bumps get good, right?
That was what's brutal about Kihei, is like, you're like, okay, you paddle out, you're like, okay, I think I could get up here, and you're like, and you're like, no, it's too small, and then you're like, okay, I'm up, and you're like, until you're like, okay, I feel like there's something, in that first mile is just like brutal.
Yeah. Exactly. And then, exactly. And then you finally get to where the bumps are good, and you're so gassed. You're watching everyone.
You're like, oh shit, he got up. Oh no, he got up. You're like, okay,
all the
I should
locals
start
are just
to get
flying away, and I'm like drifting to the back because I can't pump in these little tiny bumps. Yeah. So I'm excited about doing that with the Parawing too, for sure. I think the Parawing I'm not going to say it makes downwinding easier, but it makes getting like the momentum you need to start downwinding. Because downwinding is the act of like reading the bumps and moving through the ocean, right? And then there's like the paddle up or the Parawing up. And obviously Parawing just gives you this ability to move around in the ocean in a way that you couldn't. It also is nice because, it gives you the ability to kind of stall out. We had that sometimes. We'd be in a big group, right? And somebody'd fall, and, a couple times Sinbad was out there and she'd throw her Parawing up and sail around and wait, for people to catch up or whatever, vice versa, right? I mean, you can also kind of start pumping sideways and stalling and waiting for people. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're still moving downwind, whereas the Parawing kind of allows you to like stop. You know, she would use it to go check on Steve, her husband, who's like progressing with the Parawing. You know, she'd cut over and check on him. So I think it just gives you this, you know, same way a wing does, this ability to just move around in the ocean and do some things you couldn't do otherwise. Exactly. So mad props to the folks who are paddling out there. It's a beautiful discipline. And obviously for racing, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think you can't really apply the Parawing to racing very well, right? Because once you give somebody a sail, well, the sail's faster. So they're going to have the sail up. If we're racing and I got a sail in my pocket, I'm going to have it up, ripping me downwind so I can win.
It's a totally different thing. Yeah.
So I've thought about it a lot. I know. I would love to have it like you can only use your Parawing to pop up and then you have to put it away. Because like, that sounds great. I want to be on a little board, but let's be real.
I've thought about it. There's so many different like little things that you'd have to figure out of like, you can only use it for this much. You can't hold it out for longer than this. You can only use it like, it's really hard to categorize that, I think. But I'm sure it's going to happen. But yeah, you're just going to, like Roy said, Jack Sparrow it and just like use the Parawing the whole way.
Exactly. And then there's a talk, you know, we talked some while I was there about winter conditions in Maui and or anywhere where you have groundswell, right? And so we start getting these rolling ground swells where the wind maybe drops out and it's not as strong or it's a little fluky. And, you know, I think there's a place in those conditions where you really want both tools, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
We can talk about my new Frank boards here and why I have a SUP again. He made me a new 7-footer. I just picked them both up at the airport when I flew in yesterday.
It's pretty much just to hang it on your wall.
Yeah, I mean, I just have
to have It's just a piece of art.
Exactly. I mean, I say I'm a downwinder, so I must have a paddle and a SUP. But let's be real, I'm just going to Parawing all the time.
I mean, why not, right?
Because I'm lazy.
So any catastrophic sessions, like you couldn't get up with the Parawing and floated for an hour?
No, nothing, man.
Right? It was just
wind
lit.
Is so damn consistent, you know? Like, it was more just like, which Parawing do I grab? Am I on the 2.4 or the, you know, one run I did a 3.6 just because it was kind of light at the top at Maliko. You know, Maliko, like right out the channel there, it can be a little light at the top. But no, there was never a moment where I couldn't get back on foil. It was just... It does take a little bit of the pressure off for sure, having the Parawing out there. That when you paddle out, it's a little wonky and small right there at the mouth of Maliko, you know, and you're like, oh God, I got to paddle up on these bumps. Cause you know, the good ones are out there, but they're not going to really pick up for a mile or two. It does take some of that pressure off where you paddle out. I mean, the paddle's a lot longer out Maliko with a Parawing board. Once you get to the wind line, you just take off, right? I did have some wildlife sightings out there, which was pretty exciting. So like we had a super good day. It was blowing like, you know, first run was like 30 and then it ramped up to like 35 and Holly had flown back. So I was like free to my own demises that day and I could kill myself. So I did 3 laps and on my 3rd lap, I get dropped off and I send it out and I'm like 2 miles in, rocking my Rage Against the Machine, you know, just in the pocket, just, you know, in my own little universe out there, just shredding and come down this big jacked up set. There's a roller and I'm like bombing down it going, and I go to make a carve down to the bottom to make a bottom turn. As I'm coming down, I see this just giant shape, dude. And it was like a 10-foot shark, right? So I don't know what it is at first, but quickly I'm like, okay, no stripes, not a tiger shark. That's good. But obviously, like, you know, my testicles recede up into my abdomen, my butt clenches, and I'm like, so I go from like loose shredding, feeling like I'm like tips out, having fun, to the most conservative riding I think I've ever done, dude. And I just like banged it out right, just drove like half a mile out to sea as fast as I could to get away from this thing.
Which is not what most people would think. You're like, okay, let me get in. You're like, let me get out.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I want out of here, dude. Yeah. So anyway, so I just zoomed out and rode real conservative for a while, but it was cool. Like, you know, they're out there, right? You know, the big fish are out there. And I've always kind of wondered when I was going to bump into one out in Maui. It ended up being a lemon shark, which I looked up later. And AI told me that there's only been 11 shark bites ever from a lemon shark.
Yeah, lemon sharks are...
Yeah. But they get big. They get like 8 to 10 foot.
Sharks.
And this thing was definitely bigger than I was. You know, it was an 8 to 10 footer. It was a full mature one. It just really once I kind of got through that, I saw a few turtles too, and like went over a school of fish and whatever. And it was like, oh, yeah, how rad is this? It's like being out in, Africa or something in the safari, and you get to see an elephant or get to see a lion or whatever. And they're intense moments because we're not used to them, but how magical is that we get to play in this area? We just see these just like giant, prehistoric beasts. Right. And then, so it was really cool, but definitely is one of those things, I'm not too worried about that in the river over here. Right. Not worried about bumping into sharks.
Not at all. Tell me about those, F4s, Walt.
We're going to talk about
what's
foils.
going on.
Oh, I know, dude. I didn't want to like any more foils. I was so happy with my KTs I've been riding this summer, and I just wasn't even looking. It's like I'm in a happy place. I don't need to look at anything. And then Guido comes over after the races for a trip to the Gorge, and we start shredding. And he's like, dude, you gotta try this F4 thing. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, it's a race foil. Like, I don't want to ride a high aspect race foil here in the Gorge. Like, that just didn't even think about trying it. It's on a 75 mast. I'm like fully into my longer mast for shredding and everything. So anyway, we're at a day at the hatch, and I think we're like 6 laps into our day. And he's like, here, dude, try it. So we swap boards. He's on one of the Frank prototype Parawing boards, like this shape here, and so we swap boards, and so I do a lap, and immediately I'm just blown away by the balance of the wing and like what it delivers. And I think what they've done is it's just a continued progression of, I think, what we're learning in foil design, where they've been able to give you more surf performance in a foil that is incredibly thin and slippery in the water. I think piece of the magic with the F4s is they've got this new downwind mast that they developed that's only 11 mil cord. It's about the thinnest, slipperiest looking mast I've seen.
That's
if any of you've
crazy.
ridden 11 mil, dude, it's crazy.
Does it taper, or it's like 11?
No, it's just 11 all the way up. It's pretty straight. I mean, there's a little bit of taper at the foot, right? But it's pretty much 11 all the way up. And I think, no doubt the foil is incredible, and we'll talk about like the foil shape and why I think it's working, but I think the eliminated drag you're getting there, and also all the connections are very, like the fuselage is thin, has a very Mike Slab looking connection. KT has a kind of similar connection to it, the way it foots into the fuselage. There's only very minimal bolts on it. It's just really well designed. I'm not going to say like there's other pieces of gear that I think are going to be more race specific and have even less drag on it. But as far as like a stock piece of equipment you can get, it's just very minimal in how it's designed. And then you've got some interesting stuff. It's like got a reverse camber on the tail, which is kind of interesting. And I'm not sure the fluid dynamics with that and like what that's doing, but between all those things, and then the front wing shape is very kind of similar. It's like a 12 aspect version of the F1 Momentum, which everybody was obviously frothing about, that 16 aspect race foil that they made.
Oh, so it's like thick, and then it kind of like
exactly
thins out to the tips.
So, and it's also not just like wide in chord, but it's like thick in profile, like right where it meets the fuselage. And the chord's bigger there, and then it sweeps out to these really, really fine tips that don't go to a full point. They kind of chop off right at the tip, whereas like that momentum just keeps going out to like these little needle points. Yeah. And there's a little bit more aggressive camber and a little bit thicker profile to the wing right there at the fuselage.
Gives it a little bit more low end.
Exactly. It's giving it the low end, and I think it's putting the majority of the energy is like right there around the fuselage. And so that paired with the extra short tail, which is what I was riding. I rode the short and the extra short 135 GP tail. When you put on that, it's like a 60 centimeter fuselage. When you use the extra short, it just is this, any foil, when you get to the very top of its speed range, and this thing just has like, we'll talk about the performance, but it has just speed forever. It just kind of can just keep going into the distance, right? As far as like you keep pushing it and it just keeps wanting to go faster. But when you're in the meat of it, man, it really like the, how reactive it is to your foot movement. And especially in like a narrow stance, like, you can just surf it with your ankles, right? And it just wants to roll. So it really makes surfing super fun, but it still has enough stability that you're not worried about pitchiness with it. When you go to the extra short, it's a little more pitchy, but I was just really impressed with the ability to surf, but then also just turn on the afterburners. Like I could be, on Maliko bombing and want to like overtake a bump. And it was just so easy for me to put 2 or 3 pumps in and like up and over.
Go.
Yeah. And like to ride side by side, like I rode with Sam, Sam Reynolds, the inventor of the pocket wing from 5.0, and absolute ripper, by the way. He was out there with his whip, cracking the whip, surfing. It was so funny, dude. He's such an interesting guy, but total ripper. But he was on the Armstrong 680. And so similar wing, I was on the 685, and we're just surfing.
But a 680 high aspect?
High aspect. 680 high aspect.
So it's like a 10.
HA2s. It's like 10, right? And mine's
so you're 12.5.
Is it 12.5 or is it 12?
I don't know.
It's something like that.
Close enough.
Close enough. But we would be surfing together, right? And when we're surfing, it was great because I had the same low end. I could slow into it. We'd be surfing, kind of trading bumps. But the moment we started to punch forward, I mean, it was obvious. Like I could just project away, right? Like the thing just has this ability to generate speed. So it kind of just like, it seems like the F4, I mean, look, everybody's making amazing wings. This just has some of the race performance feel. I think like if you've ridden a Mike Slab, when you hop on a Mike Slab foil, the first thing you feel is you're like, wow, feels like there's no drag. Like I just feel so little texture in the water. It just cuts like hot knife through butter, right? And I think that's what I felt with the F4. It was like that same kind of Mike Slab feeling.
Did you try it on a different mast or no?
No, I've only tried it on. That's the only mast I have. I'd love to try. They make like some stiffer. Well, this is a really stiff mast. They're using some really high end carbons, right? Like that's where we're going. All this stuff. There's kind of carbon. I think for those of you who don't like know a ton about it, which I don't know a ton about it, but there's just an infinite amount of variation in the quality and the intent and how high impact it is. And like, so the stuff they're using, like there's literally like carbons that are only available to the military and you have to have like special licenses and stuff to get them, right? Because there's such a variance between that and then like the crappy stuff that we were making our boards out of that we ordered off Amazon back in like 2020, right? So I think
that wasn't military grade carbon.
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. There was like 10 fibers in that carbon. It was ridiculous how bad that stuff was. But yeah. So anyway, so I think it's all about the materials, right? The material science with the stuff we're doing, stiffer, which lends to everything getting more expensive. We get upset about $2,000 mass, but this is what it takes to have a 11 mil cord. Thin mass that's still stiff, and this mass is stiff. I wonder what it's like when you go past 75 centimeters, but at 75 centimeters, it is really stiff.
I mean, that's what No Limits was, right? Mm-hmm. They're a composite company with like special grade composites because they're making stuff for space shuttles or whatever, and then they make a mast for like a sporting goods out of like some special stuff, that makes it ultra stiff and super light.
And super light.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're in business anymore, but that's what it was, and that's what it's going to come to is materials and 11 mils. It's kind of crazy to think about.
It is crazy.
I think my code is like 15.
Yeah, code's like 15. I think the KT is like 13 maybe or 14. But yeah, I mean everybody's kind of sitting in that
like
spot.
14, right?
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
I'd be stoked to try it because I love riding my R. I love my high aspects because I love that that nice and easy pump, that glide. I just like the fluidity of it. I like the S's because they surf a lot better, but I just like this effortless feel to the R, right?
Yeah, this has a lot of that.
And I feel like I'm carving it around, but there's only so much you can do when you're like at high speeds, you get locked in, right? I'm trying my best. And I always ride a 75. So stoked to try it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's got, so the way I was describing it for people who've ridden code is like, it feels like, and maybe this is a little too basic, but it's like the low end of the 770 with the speed and glide of the 680R, and then it turns like the 720S. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of they've just tuned it out where it's got like a little bit of magic where it can kind of hit this. The range is crazy, dude. It's kind of blowing my mind, the range you have on one foil. Like that 685 just literally ride almost any conditions in because it's the low end so good on it magically.
I remember back in the day when like new kites were coming out, it was always the same. It's like power like a 12, flies like a 7, but it's a 9,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally full of shit right now.
that's what it is. You're like, okay,
well, how much of it is in my head?
Like a 1000, carve it like a 600,
Yeah, totally. Because like how much is it real? Like I need to do more side-by-sides and stuff to really feel this stuff out.
But also, like we know, size doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but
that's
size.
At least what my girlfriend tells me.
Yeah, size comparable in foils, it's irrelevant. Like you never know what kind of foil section it has, how much camber, what the low end, what the tail's doing. It's so hard to be like, well, I'm riding 700, I'm going to ride a 700. You're like, they're totally different foils. It could be that the 600 is what you're looking for, right? So it makes sense, Walt.
Totally agree. It does make sense. Anyways, it was just cool to see. I think the biggest thing about this is, even with the KTs that I got on early this summer, is that, we keep thinking we are getting there. Like the gear, like how can they get much better than those Rs, right? The Code R series for downwinding and stuff. I mean, they surf, they're stable, they're awesome. People even surf them, right? But you can downwind, and and then you go to the next level and the next level, right?
Have you been back on your KT?
I just got back here, so I'll be on it tomorrow when the wind turns on. No, I didn't bring anything. I pulled a Dylan, dude. I showed up in Maui with no board, no foils, borrowed everything from everybody. I wrote a bunch of the Axis stuff too. I think it's kind of like out there, the race foils that they built out for this last season that Gabby.
It's like some titanium stuff going on.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Rode those two. They were awesome. I mean, really, really magic foil, like, less surfy, but had a lot of the same capabilities, I think, like the low end and the high end and all that stuff as far as speed and having the grunt to get up. So I don't know. I think everybody's going to be doing just radical stuff. I think the foils are obviously, like, we're always riding what the developers are was a year behind for the developers, right? We're all jazzed on these KT foils. Kane built those foils 2 years ago, right? We saw them last year in practice. We had them in Maui to ride last year as a demo kit from KT. He designed them probably 6 to 8 months before that. And now we're all scrambling to buy them this summer, right? And so, obviously, there's more foils coming from Kane. I got to see some things there that look pretty radical. I just think everybody's developing and going forward, and I think it just makes me really excited because it's gonna open up. Goddamn, dude, it's so much easier to downwind now. Like having these foils that can just do so much more. Like anybody getting into the sport, they're going to be able to perform at such a high level because the gear we were trying to learn to downwind on is just not even a shadow of what we're on now, as far as like glide and speed and low end and turnability and stability. Yeah. So it just makes me really excited to see where we're going. I mean, there's no doubt the curve has to be slow. We can't be on this just 45 rocket ship to the moon.
You keep on saying that, Walt.
I know, but that's why we have a podcast.
Repeat on all of our podcasts. You're just
get all the clips.
You're doing the same thing. I'm gonna put it.
I know.
Walt, in episode 4, we can't be doing. Oh, I got this awesome. We can't be doing. Oh man, I just got this. It can't be doing this.
I know, dude. I know. I mean, it's a combination, right? It's skills plus equipment, and it's the combination of the two that's just like. I mean, I still think there's so much more to tap into. It's really fun, man. Really fun. What a really just awesome summer of foiling, and also the Parawing, to watch it kind of explode the way it has. I mean, it's just opening up so much opportunity. We've talked about Parawing way too much. I'm sorry, all you listeners out there who are so sick of hearing us talk about Parawing, but it is wave season, so we'll probably talk about waves soon.
I doubt it.
Probably not.
Tell me about Frankie.
Oh, Frankie.
I don't know if anybody calls him Frankie, actually.
Well, the Argentinians call him Frankie, and now I've adopted it because I like Frankie's just a great name. So yeah, Frank Foilboards,
what's Frank
our homie,
cooking up over there?
Okay, so he has been just working on some evolved shapes, right? Everybody kind of knows his, and we're gonna talk to him soon here on the podcast. Hopefully, he's coming in for AWSI. But basically,
he's been on a lot of podcasts. He's all over the place.
He's kind of a big deal.
He's so hot right now.
Yeah. It's mostly the glasses and his Italian je ne sais quoi. I think that's French. Anyways, yeah. So he's everybody kind of knows his downwind boards, his race boards from last year. They were the hot ticket. Obviously, built a bunch of race boards for this season. He's been working on developing a surf sup, so a shorter sup that he kind of started working on last year. He sent us some things to test down in Puerto Rico. He sent down to Mickey and the crew those short, that 6'8" and the 7-footer. Anyway, so he was working on that, and he built me out one. So I've got a 7-footer here, 95 liter, 18 wide, and just moving to like a flatter deck, like a little bit flatter bottom to it. Still has the same kind of Frank aesthetics to it as far as the displacement on the nose and everything. I think just a little more stability, a little easier takeoff for like your kind of ollie up pop up, and then with that, it was like, what does a Parawing board need to be? Right. I think what happened was we saw these mid lengths come out, and they were there was a combination. There was some that were like mini downwind boards, and so they were pinch tail, lots of displacement, whatever. Then there were some other ones that were kind of like little like really long prone boards, right? And that was kind of the other attack of the mid length. And I think the reality is for Parawinging, and we'll see how we'll say it's like a Parawing mid length is kind of what this shape is behind me here.
We're not allowed to talk about Parawing. So.
Oh yeah, not Parawing, but I mean, I think it kind of applies because it was designed with Parawing in mind. Yeah, you're right. But it's kind of this hybrid between a wing board and a downwind board, and in that there's a little bit of like a prone board and a wing board have some similarities, so I think they kind of tie in. But it was really trying to find that magic of like, how do you have that nice stable board to sit on that can build water speed, cut through the water, but then when you're pumping on takeoff, if you want to be on, kind of a threshold volume, right? Like we don't want to be on full float boards. We don't want to be on 95, 100 liters. We want to be on a 55, 60, 65 liter, whatever, depending on your size, maybe even smaller. You want something that can plane out. And then as you build planing speed and you've got that board on top of the water, you're going to activate the wing by pumping into it and give yourself little like short boosts of power that allow you to kind of slap on top of the water and then release, right? And that's kind of how you do a takeoff on a wing. And I think the same thing has applied as we've gotten Parawings that kind of have a little more pull to them where you can do that same technique. So having a board that allowed you to really release off the water, because Parawing can feel, look, when you're lit, it's easy. You just get ripped out of the water. But as soon as you get to where you're in that kind of like, if you want to sail upwind, you can't be super lit getting ripped out of the water, because as soon as you turn to go upwind, your Parawing is going to be super overpowered, right? Yeah. So you've got to have that ability to be on the smallest gear you want to ride and try and get it out of the water and have it release. So I think it was like really working to find that balance of something that felt surfy and thin, that really performed well, yet still could build the water speed and had that nice release and takeoff. And, so we worked on it this summer. He was making shapes and kind of sent them to me for feedback. And we did, 3 or 4 versions and ended up with this guy. And so far, everybody's hopped on it. It's really liked it. It's like 7 pounds for a 60 liter, which is crazy.
I'll get you to send me like a little short video of the board, like give me a 360 and I'll throw it up in between this video right here. So people can check it out. I don't want you to pick it up right now. You'll knock something over.
No, I worked so hard to get it to stand like that. Yeah, I'd break it.
I see it like wedged in the roof.
Yeah, dude, I got like a stack of bowls holding it in place. Anyways.
Sweet. We'll let Frank kind of.
Yeah, I don't want to dig in too much because I want to
and stuff.
Yeah, like and he's the one who designed it. I just was giving feedback on performance because he was kind of new on Parawing, and again, we built this around the 60 liter. I was riding the 60 liter Super K at the time. Rode a bunch of things in that size.
And stand out. It's super light, I'm assuming.
Super light. And I think it just has, it's super light, has a great deck. Like the concave on the deck and the way it feels surfing is really awesome. But yeah, I think standouts are just, it releases really well. It's just, I think that there's lots of great boards that are designed for this. I think they're going to become more specific over time. And I think this was just kind of like his attack at being intentional and specific about this sport that's, has such big draw in Maui in places where wind is strong and downwinding, which is, that's the anchor of his business is there at Maui. And so I think him having a Parawing board that really made sense, because the ones he made at first were beautiful. They look really cool, but because of so much displacement, as soon as you went to pump them up, they would just start nosediving, right? Like you really need that. That's the other thing. When you're getting drugged forward, you really need a lot of volume forward on the board because everything is trying to push that nose down, right? The Parawing's pulling you forward. You're projecting forward. You're pushing forward into it as you're trying to release. And so you really got to work on how do you make sure that you're not displacing too much volume underneath when you put that weight forward, and that there's enough volume there to keep it afloat as you project back on it to get you to lift out of the water. And I think that was kind of the magic, is finding that sweet spot without turning it into this, because it's like foils, right? Everything is about tuning. You want to move. Sure, you could put a ton of volume in the nose, but if you put too much, all of a sudden the thing's all bulbous in the nose and awkward to surf, right? Or if you put too little, now it's sinking, right? And so it's like about kind of turning all those dials, and you always have to compromise somewhere. And also it's got to look rad, right? It's got to look awesome and feel, because if you don't look cool, what's the point?
Right. So you're riding an Axis prototype.
I'm not allowed to say those things. I'll let Frank say those things. I don't know either.
I have no idea. I'm just bugging you. That's all.
No, I'm not.
That's
yeah,
rad.
I think we'll know more in a few days on all
that stuff. Get Frank on here to talk about it for sure.
Yeah. So it's been
let me
a great summer,
me talk a little bit, Walt.
I would love for you to talk, Dylan. What's that shirt you got there?
That's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
I'm bringing it, by the way, so you can try it out in Hood.
Yeah, like I didn't know that, but I like that we said that out loud.
Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I mean, obviously, we've been frothing on this thing since that interview with Chris Reynolds, which was pretty rad.
Yeah. So got the amp. I'm on the 4.8, which is 40 liters, and dude, it's as beautiful as he described and as we imagined. Like, just the
construction's just gorgeous,
the finish, the carbon on it, like the bag, just the details, the little foam insert. It just like you set it straight up and you put the foam in it. It goes like this.
Oh, dude, so sick.
And it's so satisfying.
The whole thing,
yeah. You just like slip in the batteries, click it in, it beeps. You throw it in. There's one screw. It's like really, really cool. Like the whole setup and everything, so seamless and easy. Once you get past all the software updates and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then riding it, which is really cool because we want to compare it to whatever other foil assist that's out there.
Foil drive, really,
and
yeah.
Everything has a propeller on it. So there's really nothing you can compare it to. Like it's in its own league, and they're trying to explain this to people, right? And you're like, oh, but it's you can't do this. I'm like, yeah, but it's not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be motoring around in the sets. You're supposed to be surfing. Like it's a prone surfboard with a jet assist, which is it's really nice because I haven't been proning that often. Whatever, work or whatever, but also foil drive and being honed into that, and then parawing and whatever. But it's so nice to go out there, and the waves are mediocre, horrible. I wouldn't even have paddled out on the first day that I took it out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going anyway.
You want to go you?
Yeah, and turned it into like a super fun session. Crappy waves, current. It was windy. Paddle assisted my way out there.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How was the paddle assist work? Was it pretty effective and pretty chill?
Yeah, I mean, there's only 3 buttons, right? You've got a boost, you've got a paddle assist, and you've got a menu, and you can change the settings of like how much paddle assist, how much thrust, how long it takes, it takes to engage, how long it takes to thrust up. Like it's just so easy to change all that stuff on demand. And I did while I was out on my session. The paddle assist is sick. You just set it to it's 1, 2, or 3. You put it on 2, and you just hit it, and it's just like a slight jet. I guess it's like 10% of its jet, and you're just like cruising out. It's so sick. Oh no, we lost Walt. My internet's fine.
Okay, so how was the paddle assist? Like, how did that function? I know it's like probably a quarter mile or so out to Goyu, so that's a good test for how it is. Yeah, I mean,
it just cuts the time in half. Like whatever you're doing, it cuts the time in half. Like Arlen was beside me, and he just like. You
just pulled away.
Yeah. And it doesn't drain your battery very much. It's like every paddle assist, it gives you like 60 seconds. It's like 60 seconds, 60 seconds. And every paddle assist I do would take 0.5% of my battery away. I know what's going to happen here. You're going to bring this thing to Hood River, and then I'm going to make you leave it with me. And then I'm going to have one. Well, that's why I'm bringing it.
I know you are.
Just for everybody to know, I'm going to have one up there, and it's for sale. Everything's for sale.
Of course. How about that shirt?
I just sold my foil drive yesterday, my used one.
You did? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what
I was holding on to it, but I was like, I'm just going to sell it. I mean, I'll grab another one. But so yeah, paddle assist, super fun. The jet, like pushing it and like getting the jet impulse, sometimes catching the whitewater, it was like just too much.
Yeah, too much.
Like the
Is there
whitewater
a
would
way
come,
to
I'm like,
tune
oh,
that?
I'll just catch it. Dude, on demand. You hit the menu, you can turn the thrust down, and then you out of the menu, and it just changes. Like, I was like, cool, 10 is way too much. So I turned it down to 8, and I was like, 4 seconds or 5 seconds was too long, so 4 seconds or whatever. You can just change it on demand. It's so cool.
Yeah, and so you want to talk about, because how a foil drive pop-up works, right? And obviously a normal prone pop-up. How does this compare? How does this work?
Because
what's the technique? Give me the.
It's like, dude, it's just like being on a prone board.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do have thrust engaged, so when the moment the thrust kicks off and you're kind of popped up and you haven't like engaged the foil yet, if you haven't engaged the foil yet or you're not on like a significant wave, and the thrust turns off, you're like, whoa, I find myself nose diving because there is a lot of, it's hard to notice, and I didn't notice that I was compensating, but it's just because you're doing it on demand, but you are compensating for a little bit of thrust to keep the nose down. And then another thing I realized is that I wasn't engaging the foil fast enough because I was like, power. The only thing that's in my mind is I'm on a foil assist, right? So I was like getting on the wave, and I wasn't like getting my board off the water fast enough. And I was like on the wave, and I'm like, okay, here we go. And then the motor would turn off, and I'm like, oh, I'm not really on a foil drive, right? I don't have
because foil drive, you kind of don't really
kind of
care.
motor
you're
it,
just
and then
waiting,
you kind of kick
and then maybe
it
it'll
out.
come up. But if you put it back down, your prop's still going. So
this
whatever,
you need to kick up on foil a lot faster, right? Because
cool.
So
I love that.
it was and I'm glad these things happened to me. I'm like, oh wait, I'm not popping up fast enough. I'm waiting. I'm just like using the motor a little bit too long, right? And then another thing that I realized that when I fell, I was very like aware of not hitting the prop, right? Because when I foil drive, I'm so standoffish from getting away from that board and like staying away from it and like getting on the board, keeping my legs and far behind and keeping my Precious way out in the back.
Yeah,
and I was like, there's no propeller, and it took me a second to like get out of that mindset because you're on lithium, and the only thing that I could compare it to was a foil drive. So it was a nice feeling that I didn't have to worry about the propeller.
Yeah, well, we spent all winter getting tuned into the foil drive, right? So, I mean, those are all the safety precautions, because it is totally funny. I mean, the foil drive has a lot going on in the water, right? You got your foil, you got this prop, you have no safety on your trigger. It's this tiny trigger in your hand.
Yeah.
And also, you don't have anything in your hand when you take
Nothing.
off, which is pretty great, right? Much more free feeling.
Yeah. So I did another prone session with it in La Ocho, and it was, a surf spot that I would never foil drive in. Nobody knew. And I was just catching any wave I wanted. I turned down the thrust. I went way out the back, and I caught
that's what I was going to ask.
Almost caught a big one. And Arlen was like, man, thank God you fell. That was like a bomb. It was like 7 foot. And I was like, I didn't feel like it was that crucial. And I just stood up a little bit too fast, and I just wasn't, on the downfall. So I kind of fell off the back.
That's probably the difference in technique too, right? If you go further out back to catch, it's not going to be as steep. So there's going to be like a slightly different pop-up technique where maybe you need a little bit longer boost to plane out because you don't have as much push from the wave.
I just need to wait a second. I think I need to get out of the foil drive mindset, right? So the pop-up should be a little bit more delayed if you're not on something that's not steep, or you're not in the whitewater. You need to like get yourself a little bit more momentum and then stand up. But actually before that, when I was paddling out, big sets were coming, hit the boost, and I've got a delay on it, like a 3-second delay. So I'd see the wave coming. I'm like, okay, bonk. And it's like 1, 2, and I'm like duck dive. And I use the thrust to jet under the wave. The coolest thing ever.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited. Yeah, Chris talked about that, and we were both just like, that sounds amazing. Because, I mean, we kind of do it. You didn't do it as much, but I would do it on the foil drive where I just like motor into him and just like,
scary.
Yeah, it's scary, but it worked. I can imagine this just being so much cooler. How that works. How was the balance? How was the weight? You've ridden foil drive a lot. You've gotten used to. I remember we went through that journey of like, okay, this is a little bit kooky. There's a lot of layers to it, right? Like the pop-ups weird, and the height with the mast and everything. But one of the biggest things to overcome was getting used to surfing with an extra 25 pounds between your legs.
It's still, maybe it's a little bit heavy, a little bit lighter than my max setup, a little bit, but the concentration of where the weight is feels a lot better. It's kind of like riding a trench board, right?
Yeah, it's just tighter in there.
It's just all in there. So it's a lot feels a lot closer to you. So it's easier to mitigate that weight. Pumping it around, for sure, it took me a second to get used to it, like how much weight I'm pumping around to catch set. So if I went on,
because it's gonna slow down your ability to, your wavelength's gonna slow down because you're carrying more weight with you. So
yeah. So yeah, for sure, heavier, but I caught double the waves that I would have if I was just proning that day, right?
Mm-hmm. Same thing we'd say about foil drive, right? Like that was the magic, is just being able to conserve your energy, make more efficient use of time, make it back. If you're paddling out with the assist, you're making it out back twice as fast, like you said, right? Or whatever. I mean, you obviously lose the ability to kick out and motor out the back, but let's also realize that's one of the biggest problems we have with foil assist in surf lineups is that is not cool. That is not cool to do. It's not cool for the other people who are having that experience. It's loud. It's annoying. It's kind of scary. I think this just starts to soften the impact of foil assist in surf lineups because you got a boost, but other than that, you haven't done anything that's taking away from anybody else's experience. You've just gotten a little further back and hopefully got the wave earlier so you're out of the way. That was one of the nice things about foil drive is, even if people our friends were proning, they'd be inside in the whitewater, we'd be catching it, 2 waves back and then further down the line. So they could catch the same wave. We'd be on the wave, but we'd be out of the way, right?
Yeah, you still have to be mindful, right? Because you can catch anything or whenever. So
you don't want to be
still the same, things apply. But yeah, it's less invasive, and you are paddling around. You're still in that surf environment. You're not just like, So it feels a lot less invasive, and it is, and you're a little bit more part of the pack. So it is really nice.
What foil did you put on it?
The first day was a 770. The
surprise,
code, and then I was on the second day. I was on my 830 SF, the North, which was
awesome,
nice. Man. Then
I can't wait. I'll be on it in 48 hours, baby. Yeah. I'll be getting my first fart boards.
So I took it parawinging. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what happened?
It was awesome.
Wow.
I was more? Like, maybe I'll ruin my session, but I want to do it. I want to experience it and see what it's about.
Well, because Chris talked about it a lot with winging, right? He kept talking about, because then you could wing up a small board. I could go on light wind conditions and use a smaller wing and use a smaller board and be able to have more fun.
So I was on 40 liters. Mickey was on 55. I was on my 3.7 ozone. He was on his 4.3. And it took me a second to figure it out, and get it up. And it was that thrusting place. I was on top of the water, and then the thrust would kick out, and it was almost up, and then I'd be, and I'd nosedive because the thrust gave out. So if I compensate that at the right time, then it worked out. But I have a delay on it. I'd hit it. It's got a 3-5 second delay or whatever. And I just boop, squat start, have the parawing up, and it would just start to jet. And it would slowly come to the surface of the water. Then I'd fully stand and I'd yank on the parawing and then pop up and you're up.
Super cool. Do you think you probably want a longer boost cycle when you're using with the parawing or something? That way, because you need more time to, to get on top of the foil and whatever before you pull out of the water, right?
So you have less boosts, right? Because you're using, probably 10 thrust. You're using it for a longer amount of time. If you get up and it sucks in air, then it turns off automatically anyway, right? The thing's intuitive. If I've had it too where I was on it and I wasn't set and it started to jet, and the moment that thing turns sideways, the remote's got the launch pad has a gyro in it. So the moment it turns more past this, it'll turn off automatically. You're it says board sideways or whatever, and it turns off, which is a safety setting, which was great because I'm oh shit, this thing's going to jet me and pull me by the right globe and I'm going into the reef. I was it always jets up like this and then it turns off.
Cool.
So
man, I'm
cool.
so excited.
And then I was thinking about it and I was talking about it to myself. Is it worth it? Parawinging with that thing, even though it's a smaller board than my 65 liter. The added weight, if I'm just parawinging around, you can feel it. And I don't know if being on a smaller board is much of an advantage, to be honest.
No, not between those two sizes, right? No. I mean, if you're saying, okay, I got to be on my 100 liter downwind board, 8-footer versus that, But if we're talking about a 60 liter 5.6 versus a 4.8,
being 20 pounds versus 9 pounds. Yeah,
exactly.
It's better to be on my midi to wing around.
7.2 pounds.
Yeah, I know. But if I'm traveling to Hood and I want a one board quiver, or to Maui, let's say, and I'm gonna prone, I'm gonna surf, I'm gonna parawing, I'm gonna downwind, I could probably just take one board with me.
Well, and if you did the mid-length, right? What's the next size? There's a 50 liter, 55, right? That's like what is it?
50 liters.
And then there's one bigger. What's the one bigger than that?
65, 5.8.
Okay. Either way, but you take one of those, and now that's your mid-length surfboard. You put the blank in.
Yeah,
it's your
it's probably
board,
right? Going to be, like, in that sense, probably the most popular size for like a one board quiver. The 4.8 might not make as much sense.
But for the surf sessions, I mean, seems like that's the shape, dude. The shape, the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was pretty rad to experience that. And I really want to experience to just pure downwinded, like paddle
I
into,
I can't wait.
You know,
yeah.
in hood and like paddle into it with the assist without a parawing and see how that feels. Here in Puerto Rico, there's no way I'm paddling out a mile to use it, you know, to get into a, you know, do a pure downwinder with the foil, like with the assist. I don't know. So conditions and place, yeah, I'm sure it plays, you know, a big role in what your board choice is and what sports you're going to do with it and how it helps you. But overall, really impressed with it, and it's been a lot of fun to play around with it. So I'm super stoked.
Yeah, I think when you have a product like this, I think they did a great job. It's important that it comes out right, and I know that there's a lot of complications in production, and there's the acquisition of the company, and blah, blah. Lots of layers to why this thing took so long to come to market. But the most important thing is that it's right when it goes to market. And it sounds like, you know, they held true to the standards they created for themselves. They made something that's really intuitive, that feels high performance, that works well. Because look, this is the future. This is where it's going. We keep talking about this with foil assist, and I think we're just, you know, we're just beginning the journey of foil assist and what it means. But I mean, there's no doubt it's going to play a bigger role.
People can hate on it. They can hate on the lithium, like mountain biking or whatever, but it just gets a lot of more people into it.
Well, and let's be real. A lot of the people doing this sport, they're, you know, at some point in their life, they were a surfer. Maybe they were a shortboarder and now they longboard more or whatever. And maybe that's part of like what they want to do. But let's be real, dude, paddling a little tiny 3'10", 30 liter, you know, lunch tray through 3 foot breaking waves.
We'll leave that to Arland.
Yeah, we'll leave that to the kids.
Arland's impressive to be able to do that. He's on a 28 liter all the time.
All the time.
Snappy board with foot straps. Mm-hmm. He's like 200 pounds, dude. It's that smoker. It's that Traeger.
It's that Traeger, dude. Well, dude, hey man, you want to turn hard, you gotta have power, dude. It's true. Dude.
He's getting more and more powerful.
Dude, he's powerful. Yeah, exactly. But I think that this is cool because it opens that up now, right? Like it makes, because proning is epic, waves is epic, but we don't want to all be running around on a foil drive all the time. Like it's a lot, and it's cool. It was, you know, where we found the application where I think foil drive made a ton of sense is it's almost a towing replacement. You know, you can go out.
It's your camera. I thought your board was falling. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to feel like this conversation is rushed.
I'll cry.
But I do
have to pick up your child.
I do have to pick up Nalu in like half an hour. Couple other things I wanted to touch on is that we will talk about keeping in this lithium thing. Is that Duotone has theirs coming out? It's got a backpack battery, so the board is lighter. You got to ride Duotone foils. They're probably going to have adapters for it, but they've got like an aluminum one, a carbon one with like integrated carbon to the pod. The cable runs up to a backpack, like a waist belt with batteries.
Pack,
So you're going to have less weight in the board, but how does that feel having it around your waist? So I want to try that out to see how that feels.
Yeah, that should be here at AWSI, so hopefully we can try that thing out.
Yeah, they've got a couple of units. I just talked to them yesterday. So that'll be cool to test out and talk about to see how, does it make sense to lose the weight in the board but have it on your body? I don't know.
It probably does. I mean, you're not going to notice it over your hips as much as probably on the board as far as swing weight and stuff.
So
well, hey, we're going to find out.
We're
going to find out when we try it, right?
And then AWSI. I mean, I don't know. We're going to see what's going on. There's a lot of brands. A lot of things are coming out. A lot of new product. A lot of new foils to test out. A lot of people to see. We're going to plan 10 podcasts for this AWSI trip. Well,
are we?
We're going to do
2.
No.
No, we are going to do some. We're going to have our
some
makeshift studio in the upstairs apartment here. We're going to get set up.
I think we just got to do it on the fly. Like half an hour, little like snippets with people we want to talk to would be cool at the event. We'll see. So we'll see if we can work that out.
We'll get some content this week. Look, I think here's the thing. If it's windy, probably not going to get any podcasts from us. If we get a heat wave and it gets flat, then you're probably going to get some podcasts. So I don't know what your hope is for AWSI, but I'm hoping for wind and we'll squeeze some podcasts in. And
yeah, we will.
Lots to talk about this season, as always. The evolution of the sport is radical.
Let's talk to those British guys.
Let's get those guys.
The jacket.
Ooh, maybe have them over for a hot tub party.
Yes. That'd be funny.
I like this. All right, you need to go pick up your kid.
Yeah.
You need to pack that FLITELab and bring it here. I have been 2 years, dude. 2 years I've been waiting to try this thing. I'm so jealous that you got your
and
hands
everybody
on
else.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm calling first dibs though.
Oh, and then the FLITELab foils are going to be there.
Oh God, I'm scared. I hope I don't like them. I know I'm going to like them.
I'm stoked for them, man.
No, it's going to be sick. Oh, dude, we've been so psyched. The construction. I mean, look, and to look at the original product, the AMP board, we saw the promise was made that it was going to be well designed and execute. They delivered. I feel confident they're going to do the same thing on the foils, right? And so I know Bennett's and the crew are going to be here, so really excited to get those things. I think they're doing a pop up at Big Wins on Saturday. So my whole chat here is all frothing.
I think it's Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. I've got a shoot to do with the North crew on Sunday for a Parawing. I got dragged into that. So I'm going to help them out. Should be fun.
Cool. Well, you can just I'll just take the fart board on Sunday. Sunday looks good. So we'll go set some runs. Looks like it's going to be East Day.
It's not an all day shoot. So
yeah.
And I wanted to remind everybody, this podcast is sponsored by me, Kite Puerto Rico N1 Surf Shop. So if you want to support this podcast, order foil gear from me. I'm a nice guy, and I want to help you out. Am I right?
Support N1. That's right. That's where I get my gear.
I'm sponsoring myself.
Yeah, well, and many of us. So we all appreciate N1 for all the support, dude, for sure.
Dude, this is gonna be a sick trip to the Gorge. I'm super psyched.
This is fun.
Eric's gonna be there.
We keep talking about
the whole crew,
the progression of the sport, right? I mean, even though we're saying I keep doing this, but it means that it's this. Yeah, it's here now, right? It's that much more. It's that much more than it was last year. So I think it's going to be so exciting this year. Everybody's, the community's growing, the skills are growing, the equipment's improving, and this is the place where we get to showcase it all and bring everybody together. And it doesn't matter if it's windy or not. This is what next year's all about. Is what's going to happen in the next few days here. So yeah, really excited to get everybody and to be kind of hanging out in the center of it. So let's go.
All right.
I'll see you in 48 hours, bro. Pack up. Don't forget anything.
Thanks to us. You're welcome, guys.
Thanks, guys. Later.